Hello and welcome to Mill Lab number 3. So what we're going to do today is we're going to use the same part as we used in Mill Lab number 2. We're actually going to use this for a couple different examples, so it kind of save us some time. We've got our coordinates over here. Remember x0 and y0 right there in the lower left hand corner, and you'll notice that I added a point 15. I'm calling that the safe start position. Now, why are we calling it that? Because we're going to use cutter comp. Okay, and cutter comp basically means that instead of programming like this, and this is what we did before, we just milled right down here with half right in the center line. So this part would have been undersized. See, we don't want that. What we want is something that looks like this. This isn't going to be great because it's very difficult for me to control a mouse. Yeah, like I said, it won't be great. But we're going to have the cutter actually compensate over so that it does not. Now that's much better, but wow, I got that right on there. Okay, so we want something like that. And cutter compensation, will do that. Now it's also known as cutter diameter compensation, cutter radius compensation. In this part of the world, we just call it cutter comp. All right. So why do we have a safe start position? Well, because one of the things that we have to do is we're going to have to make to turn the comp on, we have to make a move that is greater than the radius of the cutter we're using. Now, as you recall in this particular mill lab, we're going to use a 1-inch diameter end mill. I'll make sure that's what that is. I believe it. Let's make sure 1-inch diameter. Yep, there it is there. So we're using a 1-inch diameter, excuse me a second, right there it is. We're going to use a 1-inch diameter end mill. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make a move that is the radius of the cutter or something greater than that. Technically, theoretically, you could make a 501 thousandths move. That's the radius of a 1-inch end mill. It's a half inch, 500 thousandths. You can make it 501, it'd probably work. But there's no reason to get that persnickety about it because some controls aren't that expensive, and they may not like that. So I always added an extra 50,000. So let's say I was using a 3/8 end mill. Half of 3/8 is 3/16. That's 187 thousandths and 5 tenths. And if you add 0.1875 plus 50 thousandths, you end up with that would be a good safe start position for a 3/8 end mill right there. All right. So we have our safe start. Remember, we have our 14 points from 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and finally we have a safe start position of 15. Now I'm going to minimize this and bring up, okay, there we go. I'll get this sucker up here. We minimize it and then drag it. Boom, it sticks like that. Okay, so this time I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over all your startup because by now you probably have a pretty good idea. This is always going to go in every single program. You just copy and put it into a new one. Or you can do just what I'm going to do here. Now, all of these coordinates are correct. We just have to add a few things, all right, to make cutter comp work. And what that means is we can actually program the actual part dimensions, and then the computer will do all of the math for us to make it so that end mill. And take a look on this one. These right here, the start point and the stop point, there's some trig in there, not terribly advanced trig, but some trig in there to make you know how to do that. You have to add the diameter of the cutter and things like that. It just, what it does is if you do it manually, first off, you're never going to be competitive. Also, you're probably going to screw it up. That's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and talk about our safe start position again. So that's x0, y0. Notice that I had minus 550 in x and minus 550 in y. All right. Now, what we're going to want to do to turn there's three things you got to understand how to use or how to do when you're using cutter comp. One is how to turn it on properly. You got to turn it on, and you have to turn it on with a move, and it has to be a linear move. Now, some more advanced controls might let you do that in a rapid move. I'm not going to say they will. Some of them won't. Some of them will. Morisikis, I guarantee you, they'll let you rapid in cutter comp. Most other places won't. Most other controls won't. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this move, all right, using a GO1, and we're going to come over and like that and turn our comp on. So we're going to go. What you want to do is your first move always has to be perpendicular. Now, see, the thing is, when you make this first move, this the CNC control is going to do what it's called look ahead. Now, again, your more advanced controls might have, oh, good God, I'm not even going to guess. I know some of them have 1,000 point look ahead. Most of them use 4 or 5, maybe. You know what? I really don't know all of them. But what it does is, see, it doesn't know if you're going to go this way or that way. We're going to comp over and then go up and then go down and around and do the whole thing. We'll do that square first. All right, we'll just do the whole square. Uh, so, and this is going to be a little more realistic program. For us to use that cutter comp, though, we have to be able to turn it on correctly. And that means that first move has to be perpendicular or 90 degrees, and then the second move tells it where to go. If I did this and had a next move was a y minus move, it'd comp down to this side. But we're going to have a y positive move. So, all right. So let's see if we can get this right. Hopefully it does. Every now and then we don't do good. So everybody understands what all's going on right here. We did wrap it into point number 1. I want you to continue to do that. But after that, thing kind of goes out the window. So we're going to open up a line here. Remember, I told you it's a good idea to always give yourself, hopefully your caps locks numbers are on. So we'll call this N32. Let me see here. I don't want that right there. I want to open up a line here. Right. All right. So that makes this N32 now. Got to change that. That makes this N31. And this is where it's nice to have an editor that lets you, edit without a whole lot of problems. So, if you could put these new sequence numbers in there, things would work a lot better for you too. But don't worry about it right now. So that is point 1. I'm just going to get rid of that for right now. Not going to fool around with it. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to first, we rapided here. Okay, because remember we have G00 active. We rapided X0, Y0, and Z.1, turn the coolant on. We've turned on our tool length offset. We turned our spindle on. We got tool number 1 in position. We activated our work offsets. We've explained what that stuff is before. So this time we're going to rapid to our safe start position. Our safe start position is going to be X minus 0.550 space Y minus 0.550. And I explained that again. The radius of the cutter in this case is 500 thousandths because we're using a 1-inch diameter cutter. And so 50 thousandths is just something I was always taught, add a little 50 thousandths extra. Like I said, theoretically you could probably make a 501 thousandth move, but I wouldn't try that. Okay? So we moved it to X0, Y0, Z.1. Later on we'll talk about putting in a block skip, which that's a block skip. If it sees it and the block skip button's on, it will ignore that move. That's a pretty cool thing. We'll talk about why we can use those roughing cuts and such. So it's going to move to X 0.550, Y minus 0.550, or X minus 550 thousandths, Y minus 550 thousandths. And it did that in the rapid. Okay. Now, the next move, yes, we're bringing Z down. Okay. Now I'm going to go back up here real quick here because I'm anal like this. And tab that as 1. Very good. Control S. There we go. Remember, if you haven't, one more time. File, save as. I go, okay, go to my MTTC folder. Going to go Mill Lab number 3, and I'm going to call this there, Mill Lab number 3, see, and save it. All right, does it already exist? Do I want to replace it? Yeah, that's what, whenever you hit Control S, you're just replacing it. But whenever you make a first new file, you always want to start out with the file save as. Okay. Now, all right. So let's see here. This is going to have to be maybe even 33. We may end up with some problems there. Maybe even 34. Let's make that 34 because we still have to add some more stuff into there. So we got X minus 5, Y minus 550, X minus 550. We're down here. All right, everybody got that? We're sitting down here, we're running, coolant's on, we're ready to go. Now what we want to do is we're going to make our first comp move. Now the comp is pretty neat. What you're going to use is you're going to use what's a G41 or a G42. Your comp codes again are G40, that's cutter comp cancel, very important. G41, cutter comp left. G42 is cutter comp right. I sure hope I'm right about that. I'm going off my memory, and folks, I've been on this damn computer since 8:30 this morning, and I'm tired again. Should probably do this stuff earlier in the morning, and it's incredibly humid. I don't know why it's so humid, but anyway, let's go ahead and do that. So we brought Z down. Go1 means linear feed. Z's going down 500 thousandths. We're still not making a realistic cut. That would probably be too much, but 500 thousandths. And the feed's going to be the same because we haven't changed any feeds or anything like that. That's pretty good right there. That's taking us to where we want to go. Now, at this point, what do I want to do? I'm down there. Everything's going good. I think I'll make that 32 again. Like later on, resequencing numbers is a piece of cake. You don't really have to, remember, you really don't have to have these numbers in line. I just use them for reference here. All right. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to open up another line. So we'll go N33. Okay. And what do I want this time? Well, we're going to do a cutter comp move. Now, the first thing you want to do is always, you want to make it in a linear move, G01. There are some more advanced controls, that will let you maybe wrap it over in cutter comp, saves you some time, things like that. I know Morisikis definitely will do it. Haas's will not. So put the Go1 in there. Then, now which side of the line is this cutter on? So here it is. Is that this side? No, that would be cutter comp where we are right of the line. Think of you as riding the cutter or riding a lawnmower down, and this is a fence. What side of the fence are you on here? Well, you're to the left of the fence. Here you're to the right of the fence. So I just told you that the G40 cancels it. G41 is cutter comp left, and G42 is cutter comp right. Well, if I did a G42, it would comp over to here, wiping our part out. That's no good. So I want a G41. G41. Okay? Control S. Now I'm going to make a move. The first move I said is got to be perpendicular. You got to be 90 degrees. So basically, it's simple. I'm just going to go to X0. Okay? There we go. Okay? And when I do that, I'm also going to put something else that's pretty neat in here. For the computer to understand, when it sees this G41, the computer's got to say, okay, what do I do with that? It needs something else. It needs to know where or what size cutter. And you're going to go in there and tell it that. Remember, you're going to put it in a tool geometry table, the actual size of the cutter. So in this case, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a D01, all right? That means simply that's what it's going to look for. It's going to go into it and says what is the diameter of D1, and that's what it's going to use in all its calculations. Now remember up here your H number and your T number always had to be the same. That is not the case with this. As a matter of fact, later on we'll use different D numbers and lie to the control, tell it maybe the cutter's bigger so it'll leave stock for a finish pass. I'll show you how to do that next week. Okay, so do we want our feed there? I'll put it in there, F7 point, yeah, 0.33, easy for me to say. Control S, all right? At this particular point, what it's done right now, okay, is it's moved on over to here. So our cutter is moved to right here. Now, you're going, is it right here? You're thinking it should be right here at X0. It won't be because it's also looking for another move. That's why I'm going to open up another line in 34. Now this is how I'm turning cutter comp on. I would actually come over here and put cutter comp on if I was you. Yeah, we'll be. Great, cutter comp on, control S. Okay, don't forget that D number. You'll most likely get an error. If you got a really unsophisticated control, it might do something really crazy. God only knows what it might do. I don't even want to think about it. All right, so there we activated our cutter comp. Remember, we have to make a move that is greater, equal to, or greater than the radius of the cutter that you're using. And like I said, I just add extra 50 thousandths. 50 thousandths is no big deal in most of the cases, unless you're making 500,000 parts. And let me tell you what, there's nobody around here that runs CNC machines that make 500,000 parts on them. We just don't. There's other dedicated machines that we would do for that. So, all right, got that D01. Now the next move is again going to be a G01. All right. And now everything becomes just what it normally is. Now you're going, just what it normally is. Well, what do you mean? Well, actually, here's something I kind of messed up because I'm not used to starting with this. I thought it would save me some time, but it looks like it didn't. Let me hit delete one more time. All right. That next move is that right there. It's going to go G01. We're going to go up to Y2.5. Now you see what happened. When it does this, this is what will happen. It won't go over and then go back and then go, oh, like that. It'll go like this. Most of them will like comp right over there. And it'll go straight up this side like this. I don't know why it's so hard for me to do that with that side, but it is. So right now all I have to do is use the same coordinates. So all we had to do to add cutter comp was first off go to safe start position, all right, which I'm going to tell you SAFB, START, and that control S. Safe start. We'll go to a safe start position. Remember, this move has to be greater than the radius of the cutter, not the diameter. The radius half of the diameter. Okay. If you had a 12 millimeter cutter, it would be 6 millimeters plus maybe something else. I don't know, whatever you want. All right. Then we brought Z down. Then this is where we activated our cutter comp. Now all these numbers that we're using from now on, N35, M40, all of these are going to be exactly the same. We don't have to change anything. It'll just do this right here. All right, it really will. That's how we do that with cutter comp. Now I'm going to leave this all. It's still not a realistic part. So that's how you turn it on. So we turned cutter comp on just by adding a safe start. We brought Z down. Then we added our G41 with our D number. Remember, that is very important. Don't put a G42 there, scrap. Wrong D number, scrap. No D number, error. Okay, don't do it. Put it there. And again, I put it like that. Okay, G01, G41, X0. Okay. The next move right here, the control will look ahead and say, oh, I'm going up to Y2.5. So it'll come right over here and it'll stop right there. It's pretty cool, really. It'll stop right there and it'll mill up. Now remember, we're actually down here. We're down here at Y. We were down here at Y minus 500,000. So it'll actually do something like this. It'll go comp up and then it'll comp right up through there, which I can't hold that so stationary enough to do that. I'm sure there's tons of really good videos where people have done a lot of work with graphics to show you how cutter comp works. I don't know that I'll put one up there. As long as you follow this format, you'll be amazed at how easy it is. And then all the hard math is done for you. You just put in your regular coordinates as we've figured them up. No problem. All right, so milled. Now, when we get to here, let's see. What was this? This is point 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. Then we went to 5. Now, here's a problem right here. At this particular point at 4, I'm going to open that up. All right. In 46 space. What do I want right here? Well, I'm actually going to, in this time, I'm actually going to mill the entire square. So G01, remember you don't have to do that, but just get in the habit of it because you're just starting out, most of you. G41, and I'm going to mill back to, guess what? Well, you're all thinking, oh, X0. 0.1. No, we want to go back to our safe start. So I'm going to mill all the way to x minus 0.550. Okay, that way what this thing did was it went like this. Milled right through here. Okay, yep, it did. Milled right through there. Went all the way back over to here. Now to turn cutter comp off. All right, and that's what I said. We're going to turn cutter comp off. Let's see where we're at. We're 46. We're going to have to turn it off because what we have to do is turn it off, then we can comp it back over here. The rules of comp are simple this. There's a couple other rules. One, you can make no Z moves while cutter comp is activated. Okay, I'm not going to say that there's not advanced and sophisticated controls that allow you to do that, but seriously, that is a very general rule, and as long as you stick to these rules, don't make any Z moves, don't put any M codes, don't do anything like that. Notice that all my Z move, see, here's my G41. It's outside. My Z move is outside of my G41. After that, the rest of this stuff, there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. Okay, you don't want that either. So let's go back at to line 46. I came over here, all right, and I'm not going to put down safe start for you. I'm going to hit enter right here, open up another line. How about in 47? Okay, I haven't hit Control S in a while. Let's do that. Uh, Now I want to turn cutter comp off. Now I'm still going to use the G01, and I'm going to hit a G40 this time. And guess where I'm going to go with Y? I'm going to let you tell me. Well, it's a safe start position, so that's minus 0.550. That will turn it off correctly. Bottom line is, you turn comp on, you got to turn it off. Okay? No Z moves in between your G41 and your G40. You can put M codes in there. I think I may have said M codes, but you don't want anything else funky in there. The least that's in there, the more chances that this is going to work right, especially if you got a cheap control like, well, I'm not going to name what I think are cheap controls, but there are a lot of them out there. All right? This will work every time. So I went back to my safe start position. Okay? Hit Control S again just in case I forgot how to do it. All right, what am I going to do? Now we're going to go over here to, this is 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 0.10. Okay, we're going to do those. All right. Now, which side of the line are we on? Well, again, we are left. Okay, so that's a G41. So I'm already down. I'm already back over. I'm going to open this back up. How about N48? And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, G01, G41, okay? And guess where I'm going to go to? Well, I'm going to go to 0.5. Now, what is the position of 0.5? Let's see. You're going, well, it's right here, Randall. You didn't really have to do all that. Well, I'm going to write it, then I'm going to show you how to edit it again. But you know what? Screw that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to go ahead and add a G. At this point right here, I'm down here. I'm ready to go to 0.5. That is 0.5. Look at this is what's cool about it. I'm just going to hit my G41 right there. Okay. X is going to go over to 0.1875. Now that Y0 is no good. That'll screw things up. You don't want that Y0 there, so get rid of that, okay? Because remember, we have to make one move, one perpendicular move, and then the other move, okay? That's the way it works. It has to have that. So I'm going to get rid of that. And basically, I'm just going to go ahead and what do we do up here? Well, we've moved it to where we want it to go. And now we're going to call our D number, which again is D01. Because that's, it'll go into the control will go into the tool geometry table and it'll pull out the value that you put, which should be the actual cutter diameter. A word of caution, some machines will actually comp on the radius. So instead of putting the diameter, the actual diameter of the cutter in there, you'll have to put the actual radius, which means you measure the diameter divided by 2, put it in there. That is a setting. Some people are just stuck like that. I don't know, maybe they do it like that overseas. I don't know. I just know I'm teaching up here in the Midwest, so that's where we're doing it. Okay, I'm going to delete that one more time, I think, here. Yeah, give me a space there. Control S. So I went over. Now remember, I'm still at Y minus 550. So this is where I need to add my next line, okay? Because I got to bring up my next. Well, let me see here. X. Yeah, I don't actually have to add another line. Now once I've got my cutter comp activated, I'm just going to delete this, okay? I'm going to delete that. And Y, I'll tab this over, so it's nice, Control S. Y is going to go up to that point right there, which is X 1.875 or 187,005 and remember it was down here at Y minus 550, so it was way off the part. Now it's going to mill up, excuse me, over here, so it's going to mill up to, let me see here, Y 1.375.656. Okay, the rest of this stuff I don't have to change. At one point, if you do it like that, again, we're going to go over and then up, and it'll go like that, and it'll comp right to it. It's amazing to watch it work. Then, basically, the way we got this programmed, it'll go all the way around there. Now, I don't need to come back across here because I already cut that, so I'm not going to do that again. So let's find out where we're going to turn on. We're getting cutter comp on. You can put that in there. I highly recommend you do. Yay, cutter comp on. Control S if you haven't done that in a while. Okay, so now notice I didn't move my Z. Z has always been down, so I don't have any Z moves in here. So I canceled my cutter comp, then I turned it back on. This is a very safe way of doing it. Again, a more sophisticated control may not require you to do that. It may just say, oh, I know I'm cutter comp on. And people get kind of antsy about that. There's some people who wouldn't program it like this, but let me tell you what, this always, always, always works. Doesn't matter what control you have, it always works. All right, so we went mill, 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 mill. All right, we want to turn our cutter comp off. So in this case, what I want to do, well, you need to go, a good idea would be to go back to the safe start position. All right, but to turn cutter comp off, really all we have to do, okay, we could actually come down and go over. There's a lot of different ways to turn it off in this particular scenario. I think I'll just bring it down. So let's see where we're at. We did all this, we did all that, we did our radiuses. This was, again, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's point 10. So point 10 right here we're ended. So I'm going to open up a line there. In 90. And what am I going to do here at N90? I love how that works. Let's see what happens if I hit delete. Yeah. Just get rid of your point 10 here. Go back. All right. All right, so we want to turn that cutter comp back off. Now, how do we do that? Well, a lot of people would actually just see, I can also bring it down and then bring it over. I can bring it down and bring it over. I can bring it down and bring it over. I'm going to do this. By the way, NC View will not show you your cutter comp. That's something we're just going to have to, you're going to have to wait until if we ever get a face-to-face class to get in there. This stuff becomes a whole lot easier to understand. Once you see it on the control, it sure does. I apologize for that, but NC View will not. It's just the plotting. It just shows you your lines. All right, so let's see here. Before we went all the way over, then all the way down. Basically, we drew a little square. We came up, milled, then over, then down. Okay? So here, if you had milled back across this surface again, chances are you'd mess it up. So what you did was, remember, you came over and you went up. So now you went down and you can come over. So let's go down. Instead of this Y0 right here for point 10, I'm going to make that my safe start. Y minus 0.550. Yeah, Control S. All right, now it's going to come down to here. And how do I want to turn it off? You got to turn it off by making what? A move that is greater than the radius of the cutter, and it's got to be perpendicular to the move you just made. So we came down, so going this way. So let's see where we were at next. Let's go to the next one. Next line, here's where we're going to put it. A G01, like I said, some controls will accept this in rapid, others won't. G40, and I'm going to go, let's get out the old calculator here. So I want it to move 550 thousandths. My last place was this, so I was at X, let's see here. You know what, I haven't tried this before. I think it actually works, but let me see here, see if I can do this. Copy, cut, calculator, paste. Oh, it does. Great. So I don't have to type that in. Another quick way to work with this calculator. And this time I want to go plus 0.550. Because remember, I'm going to make a move that is greater. Add that to it. And that's where I want it to go. So right here, this move right here. There. Let's go ahead and go copy, copy. Go back in here. Paste, paste. Now, if I left that alone like that, Everybody goes, all right, we got it. It turned off. You know, Y came all the way down to 550,000, so we turned the cutter comp off. You better put an X here. That again is one of those errors that, and Control S by the way, you'll never catch. You'll look at your program for the next 25 minutes going, why is it wrong? Why doesn't it work? And I'm going to say, well, there's not an X there. There's not a Y there. There's not a D there. You don't have to put a D number when you turn it off. Okay? And if you want to put the feed in there, notice that I quit putting the feed in here over here. Like I said, the feed is modal. You don't have to. Right here it is. It's as long as we didn't change anything, even through the GO2s, it'll stay modal. So I don't have to put that in there. So I turned it off right there. So I'm going to put space. Yep, cutter comp off. Control S and get this back over there. All right, cutter comp off. So I turned it off. Now I just have one more thing to do. All right. Now this time what we did was we rapided Z up because then we came over here because we want to mill along this line like this. There's my cutter. I can't do that real good, but you get the idea. Now which side of the line am I on this time? Well, I'm on the right. I am to the right of the line. Remember, like you are riding this and you look over and say, oh, I am to the right of the line. Yeah. And that, trust me, that is correct. So let's go to the right of the line. Let's try, okay, so where do we want to do this? Z came up. Let's move this on up here. By the way, if you ever want to do that, you just have to keep hitting enter and you'll be able to bring it up there. Z came up 100 thousandths. Very good. Now we're going to have to come up with another safe start. So let's do that. Open up a line. I got N90 twice there. We'll call this N91 then, won't we? The computer won't care. Control S. It won't. It won't care. Alright, so yeah, G01, G40, cutter comp off. Z came up. New line. I don't have to make that in. I'll make that N86. How's that? Keep it straight for you. We'll call this 91. Alright. Now, I want to bring Z back down. Remember, we're going to make our Z moves outside of the cutter comp. So G01, matter of fact, I'm just going to do this, and this is what you should do too. Let's go up and find that Z move. Right here it is. Copy. Go back down here. I don't even need that G01, did I? Nope. Delete. And I'll paste it. Great. Control S. Okay. That's me moving my headphones. Ears are sweating so bad. I swear to God, it's going to thunderstorm. Okay, G01, Z comes down 500 thousandths. That's great. New line. How about N92? Space. Now, where do we, since we've got it down, all right? But all we did was take it up 500 thousandths or 100 thousandths, then bring it back down. I really wasn't ready for it to do that, was I? No, I wasn't. And this is something you're going to get used to doing too. It's real easy to do that. So Z came up. I want to move it over into a safe start position. Now, whatever this point is, so again, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That was point 11, right? So point 11 is right down here. I can either, it's best to start on this side. So point 11 was this one here. X value is 1 inch and 62 thousandths. So I'm going to copy that. Copy. Go over here. Let's see if it pastes right over top of it. It does. Get the calculator up here. And I want to be on this side of it. So plus 0.550. Remember, that's always got to be amount that is okay, greater than the radius of the cutter. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go right down here, and I'm going to paste it right there. Paste. Boom. Hit Control S. Okay, now where should Y be? Well, it damn well shouldn't be at 0. I'll tell you that. It should be at, well, let's make it minus, same thing. Safe start in Y was always minus 0.550. Yeah. Now, You're going, hey, we didn't need all this stuff. Well, that's great. Let's see if we didn't. I'll put it right here. Delete. Control S. So Z came up. Then we rapid it over to a safe start position. Is there something wrong here with this line? You see it? Yeah, no X. There we go. Let's put an X in there and hit a Control S. Okay, we rapid it over. Let me see, that looks funny. There we go. Now hit Control S. Okay. Caps. Seriously, caps. Okay, so now I'm sitting down here in a nice safe start position. I'm 550 thousandths away from this line. I'm 550 thousandths down away from zero, so I can comp over. Now, that's why I'm going to bring Z down. Now, remember this. This is another thing I was getting ready to do. That pocket's only 250 thousandths deep right there. I don't want to scrap that out. So, yeah, we'll bring Z down 250 thousandths. I'm going to put down safe start per pocket right here. How about just safe start? So hard to remember that those cap locks are on. Okay, that's going to be our safe start position for the pocket right here. Now Z comes down. That's all good. Hit Control S. All right, let's do that. So yeah, came down, and after Z comes down, now we want to open. This is where we want to open a line. In 101. All right, I got it. So G01, and this time it's going to be a G42. Now later on you'll play with this on stuff that actually does show you cutter comp, and you'll go, oh, that's not right. Oh, that is right. But a G42 is what we want, and we're going to move it over to whatever, okay, our original point 11 was, which I don't remember what that was. That's why I got my coordinate sheet right here. Point 11 was, yep, 1 inch 62 thousandths of 5 tenths. Copy. Okay, let's get that minimized again. So, yeah, I'll put that there, paste. Let's put an X in front of it. Okay, let's hit Control S. So, G01, G42, X is going to move. So, it's moving this direction this time. Moving like that, comping over. And, of course, we want to activate D01. And if you feel like putting the feed rate in there, let's see. The feed rate is up here. You don't have to. Now, when you went from a G01 to a G00, yeah, you have to put your feed rate back in there. But I'll put it in here. All right, Control S. So, what that did was right now, it moved over into this way, okay? It comped over, and I don't have to do anything else. See, I don't have to change anything else because all these coordinates are already right. It's going to do this radius and everything, okay? So let's get down here to point blah, blah, blah. Easy for me to say. Point 14. Going to open up a line. That's what I should have been doing all the time, right? Yeah, and 122. Okay. So I've done all my cutting. Here's what it will do. It's we rapided. We came up, rapided over to our safe start position, fed down, comped over. It'll be like right there. And then we went all the way around. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that and cut that out of there without, like I said, without any additional math. Once we've done all that, now we want to turn it off. So again, G01, G40, remember that's cutter comp cancel. All right, you'll get that stuck in your head, G40. And where do we want it to go? Well, it's right here. Right here, it's right here. That's where it's at. That's where it's at, right there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take this X value, 0.14's X value, and I'm going to subtract 550, and that's where I'm going to move to. So let's copy that. There's my X value. Copy. Going to here. I'll paste it. Boom. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract because remember I came down. I'm going to change something else to change that, but let's go ahead and minus 0.550 equals that. Okay, copy that. And that is where we're going to put, that's where we're going to put that right there. Paste. And put an X there. Now, I told you before, I hit that freaking, golly, EJ, Control S, by the way. This right here, since you want it to be in its safe start, it's going to be minus 0.550. Control S. So what it did was it went mill. Sorry about that. Stopped here. Then it comped off over to here. So we started here, we comped on to here, did all the way around, come back down here, and comped off that way. That's pretty typical. Now later on we'll do something where we'll like do this. We'll start here and we'll go, and then we'll arc into the part and do all of that, and then come arc back out, and then either move up or down and over to our safe start. The idea is that you just right now copy what I have, play with it and try to understand. I'll put this down here, cutter comp off. Okay, Control S. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, after we were sitting right down here, cutter comp off, Z-wrap it up to 100,000th of the part, coolant turned off, MO9, then G28. Remember good old G28, that's very important. Going to send the machine to its home position, and first it'll go to Z 4 inches above the part, then it'll go home. Finally, don't ever forget your M30. Your M30 becomes extremely important, because if we don't have an M30, lots of bad things happen. It'll say end of program not found. Remember, M30 will turn the coolant off. I did there because I didn't want to get sprayed, but it did turn the spindle off. It does a lot of things. Resets the program for next run. And finally, don't forget, and a lot of people forget, and this will again drive you crazy, don't forget that percentage sign, or it won't work. This ought to be a pretty decent little program. Now you don't have to, like I said, I wouldn't copy it. I'd try and put it in there. We're going to use this part 2 more times, and then we're going to start doing other parts. We got 16 weeks, and this is only week 2, so but that's cutter comp in a nutshell. Remember, to turn it on, you have to make a move, a linear move. You can't and also, this is something important, another rule about cutter comp, you can't comp to an arc. It has to have 2 intersecting points. Arcs don't have those. So if you try to comp right to here someplace, you'll be disappointed. Now Mastercam can do that, but it's doing it totally different. It's not doing it the way we're doing it. Any other cam software will do it too. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But generally speaking, that's a control error. So, or not an error, but a control rule, law, parameter. Parameter is the right term. Okay, so if you didn't hit Control S, hit Control S. All right, I apologize about all the stuff about being hot and sweaty, but that's the way it is. It's hot and sweaty here. So I'm going to end this. I'll post this, and I'll post everything else that needs to be out there in the Module 3. All right.